us, it was just reported that famous celebrity cartoon actor Speedy Gonzalez was arrested early this morning by U.S. immigration officers after they reportedly received a tip by an anonymous informant. Speedy Gonzalez, a Mexican national, was apprehended as he exited a cheese factory in El Paso that has a long history of hiring undocumented workers.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smart, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. Timestamps are down in the description box if you want to get directly into the Dynamite review. Otherwise, fuck with me for a moment. Obviously, I'm hearing people say that apparently Rikishi has talked about the whole Jey Uso losing the World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther last Monday. I heard people saying that he did make a post on it, but then he immediately deleted it. So I'm not sure. Well, I'm sure where his head's at right now. I know what he's saying right now, but as far as direct criticisms, we have nothing on what Rikishi has said yet formally. I'm pretty sure it's gonna come sometime soon, maybe on his podcast. I'll have an open ear because at the very least, I want to decipher what he's gonna say. Because people are going to take it apart one way or the other. And I figure, okay, if they're going to take it apart, let me hear what he's going to say. And then I'll, at least justify whether or not it's good or it's not good. At least to me. But in the meantime, let's talk about Gunther and Jey Uso. Because you have people, and the sad part about this also. The sad part, and it just tells you, I don't know who to blame. Whether it's, unfortunately, the deteriorating in-ring skills. And really just overall package of Jey Uso. Or if it's the incompetence of Triple H's booking. You got to pick which one or the other, right? But I got to say, there are a lot more people who are happy about Jey Uso losing the World Heavyweight Championship than there are people who are sad about him losing the World Heavyweight Championship. The whole problem with Jey Uso, at least for me, and I try my best to cope with it. I even gave him a bunch of excuses and a bunch of outs. Like, let's take our time with this. Let's see where it's going to go. And then it feels like every match he had after winning the Warrior Room. Yeah, granted, it's been pretty glaring before this, going all the way back to maybe even arguably 2023. Ever since he had that match with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam in 2023, I feel like that's when it became way more obvious to most people. But it's not like Jey Uso was like this all the time. Jimmy and Jey, they are good in-ring performers. Maybe not now, but they are. And if you go back and watch Jey Uso's promos, going all the way back to the pandemic days, going all the way up until the stuff he was doing with Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, that shit was killer. Jey stayed on point with his promo skills, and then just all of a sudden, man, I'll tell you what it is, man. He got lazy. Homie got lazy, bruh. That yeet shit, he leaned way too much on, man. When he didn't have that yeet shit to lean on, when he didn't have the super kicks to lean on 100 million fucking times, and he had to actually do stuff to get himself over, it wasn't like that. Go back and watch Roman and Jey, both shows. I'm talking about Payback and Hell in a Cell. Or what was it, Clash of Champions, I think? Go back and watch both shows, man. Wasn't like that. It was not like that at all, man. Jey was on point. That boy knew what he was doing. Everybody was on Jey's side. Everybody was saying if Roman loses the World Heavyweight Championship, you need to do a whole full circle. It needs to come back to Jey. And I hate this excuse from most people who are saying things like fans are fickle this, fans are fickle that. Sometimes that could be the case, I understand, but within the case of Jey Uso, there's no way you just don't see the deteriorating in-ring, and not just in-ring, just overall package of him. There's just no way you just can't say. I can tell you, as a person who did cope with it, as a person who was one of those, let it play out a little bit longer, let me see where he's going to go with this, it is what it is. He didn't bring anything to the table outside of yeet. And congratulations. Like I always say, when it comes to metrics, I get it. Merchandise. Homeboy is killing it in that department. I'm not too sure about the ratings, but the merchandise, I get it. I understand. And even him, as far as his health is considered, I also even understand and I also get it. where he feels like he can lean more on this because he ain't got to do much. I mean, why put yourself into a position to hurt yourself when you got a golden word and all you have to do is say it over and over and over and over again, and it kind of just overcompensates for the things that you should be focused on. You know, it feels like Jey Uso, I wouldn't even be surprised if The Rock gave him that advice and told him to lean more into the catchphrase so he doesn't have to do more to his body. See, people want to compare that to The Rock, but you have to understand, and I hope Rocky understands if he was the one to give him that advice, Rock is a once-in-a-lifetime superstar. Not to mention, Rock didn't just lean on yeets. You know, Rock had multiple catchphrases if you even want to keep it there. But even outside of that, Rock can talk on the microphone. Rock did have natural charisma. Jey Uso has to borrow moves from The Rock from time to time in order to get over. It's not the only Samoan family member he's borrowing moves from. You know, Rock could sell his fucking ass off. Rock can wrestle. Yes, he can. Go back and watch his matches with Triple H. Go back and watch his matches with Jericho. Go back and watch his matches with Foley. He can have different styles of matches. Obviously not now, but at the time, yes, Rock can absolutely go in the ring. Just because he's not flipping doesn't mean he can't kill it. Jey is not comparable to The Rock. Rock is probably number one, the most charismatic wrestler of all time. Rock is probably in most people's top 50 best in-ring sellers of all time. Rock can lose a match and it wouldn't even feel like he lost the match because he just overcompensated with how great he was as a talent. Jey does not have any of that. He was once a good talent. He was once a good in-ring performer. Then he leaned on Yeet. And he let it take him over as far as his world title reign is considered. He didn't grow as a performer. And therefore, people passed him by. People that everybody else would like to see be world champion passed him by. And unfortunately, these are the consequences. Not him losing the World Heavyweight Championship. That was inevitable. Everybody has to lose it at one point, right? But people being happy, people being glad that he lost the World Heavyweight Championship. And that just goes to show you what Triple H is booking also, man. Gotta do better. Gotta do better. But I'm happy that Jey got the opportunity to at least say he's a former world champion. At the very least, he got that. But on the bigger and better things, right? And I ain't talking about Dynamite either. But with that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so Mystico's coming out next, right? Sin Cara. We got time to dedicate to this because I don't give a fuck about this match. What I do care, though, is about this match right here. And honestly, there are some good stuff about this match, this overall segment in general, and then there are also some bad. It's like, again, the proverbial 2 steps forward, 10 steps back when it comes to AEW, where I feel the bad kind of outdoes the good. Not bad in the sense, and here's the thing though, it's not bad in the sense of them doing something wrong. It's bad in the sense that they didn't do the thing. You know what I'm trying to say? They didn't do anything wrong. They should have done this thing instead. And I know people are going to probably be like, you're paying armchair booker. It's not armchair booker. It's just common sense in professional wrestling. Now, let's get the good things out of the way first. Okay, you think, if you actually think I'm going to shit on this match, I'm not going to shit on this match. I'm not. Now, is it your proverbial stereotypical AEW match? Yes and no. Yes, because of the shit that they do. No, because, I don't know. The way they actually sold in this match, the way they actually conducted themselves in this match, it was an above average typical AEW match. Not to mention there's a lot of story attached to this. There's a lot of consequences attached to this, as you can see with the finish. And I liked it. I liked the pacing of the match. I liked the selling. You know, it was flips, but it was not done, you know, annoyingly, right? The only thing that was really, really annoying about the match was the false finishes. Like, they really, 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 really need to ease up on the false finishes. I know we say this all the time, but like, it gets to the point sometimes where it's like it's hard to distinguish a good match from what a match above its level can be, because it feels like all these matches follow the same template, right? You do a bunch of finishes, you do a bunch of strong style bullshit, and you do a bunch of false finishes. You know what I mean? It gets to the point sometime. Again, it's very, very hard to distinguish, but I'll let it slide because the selling in this match was actually very, very good, especially on the part of Swerve Strickland with his leg. He did not forget to sell his leg, and it played a part into a bunch of spots that gave reasoning and logic to why Will Ospreay would do it. So as far as the match is considered, I didn't hate it. I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. I'll give credit where credit is due as far as the match. Even the finish. I liked the finish a lot too, especially because it played into the angle. Now, before this match happened, you had Hangman Adam Page, who was stopped backstage by Christopher Daniels, essentially telling them, you know, not verbatim, but essentially saying, hey, when it's all said and done, you might want to start repairing that relationship with Swerve Strickland because we're going to need all the help we can get in order to combat this Death Rider problem, right? And while Hangman Adam Page is walking down the aisle, you can see a Jon Moxley who is kind of, you know, leaning there with his hood on. Hang on for a second, I see MVP. Hang on for a second, guys. Oh, okay, it's just the Hurt Syndicate beating the fuck out of Commander. Who gives a shit? Getting back to what I was saying, though. You had Hangman Adam Page walking down the aisle, and you had Jon Moxley with his head down, kind of covered up. And he reveals himself as Hangman's walking past him out of camera view out of camera view, Hangman, that is. And he kind of points to the Death Riders and they tell them to go follow Hangman, right? And they're following Hangman and they cut the camera to the match in itself. They do the match as I just described already. And we get to the finish where Swerve Strickland, and you have the announcers, they're starting to put more emphasis on the fact that it's about to be a time limit draw, right? They're putting more emphasis onto it. It's 2 minutes left. It's a minute and a half. It's a minute. It's a couple of seconds. Good shit from the announcers. Again, credit where credit is due. And you have Swerve Strickland who's getting on top of the turnbuckle, and it's looking like he's setting up for a swerve stump on Hangman or on Will Ospreay, who's on the ring apron, right? But as he's setting up for the spot, he's selling the leg, and the time is ticking down. And eventually, when he gets himself into the correct position to pull off the move, the time limit, it comes to an end. It's 30 minutes, right? 30 minute time limit draw on the television show. Good. I like that. You have Ospreay outside of the ring and he's selling his ass off. You have Swerve Strickland in the ring. He's still selling the leg. He's putting over Ospreay by saying that he's in pain. Swerve, that is. He's saying himself he's in pain. But he knows that Will Ospreay is, you know, a man. And I hate this. I hate when wrestlers do this. It's so fucking cheesy. The whole, this is AEW. This is where the big boys play. As an AEW wrestler, I mean, you never see WWE do some campy shit like that. I hate when fucking wrestling companies do this. Fuck putting over your company. Put over yourself, okay? Your company is always going to be over. It's you that you need to focus on being over. They do that shit. They used to do this shit with ECW all the time too, and TNA. It's so fucking annoying. NXT does it sometimes too. Maybe not as often, you know, nowadays, but they did it back in the days too. It's so fucking annoying, bro. It's you that needs to be put over, not your fucking brand. But nevertheless, though, he tries to encourage Will Ospreay to have a sudden death. And when Will Ospreay looks like he's about to agree to that, even though he's in pain, you hear the Death Riders theme song, right? And out comes the rest of the Death Riders. And they're surrounding the ring. Swerve Strickland is in there. Prince Nene, he's inside of the ring also. They're surrounded. They're not paying attention to anything in regards to their overall surroundings. Just the three corners of the ring that the Death Riders are occupying at that moment. So behind his back comes out the Young Bucks. And they beat the fuck out of Swerve Strickland. They took some handcuffs out. They handcuffed both of his arms to the ropes. And they start super kicking him over and over and over and over again until he was pretty much prone. They go into like this little duffel bag that they brought out with them, which had 2 pairs of sneakers inside it, and it had thumbtacks attached to it, just like at Double or Nothing. And they proceed to set up super kicking Swerve Strickland in the corner with the thumbtacks attached to the boots, right? Or the sneakers. And while they're preparing and they're pumping up the sneakers, they're setting it up for it. And they initiate a super kick. But instead of hitting Swerve Strickland, in his way comes Will Ospreay, who puts his body on the line and sacrifices himself and takes the super kicks from the Young Bucks, right? And this was nice because the thumbtacks are now scattered around the ring. So theoretically, I would just say to myself that there's no thumbtacks attached to the shoes. So there's no reason to have to do the spot again. Because most people are going to probably be like, well, I mean, just super kick Swerve Strickland. He's still prone at the moment. He's still handcuffed. Just because you super kick Will Ospreay doesn't mean you can't super kick Swerve Strickland. But if you've seen around the ring, the thumbtacks were like scattered around the ring. So I'm just telling myself logically that when they super kicked Will Ospreay, all the thumbtacks kind of just, you know, went off the shoes, and there was really no point to commit to the spot, right? It'd just be a regular super kick at that point. Not to mention, it feels like they had a little bit of remorse for Will Ospreay, because even though Will Ospreay is calling, you know, he's making the call to go after the Death Riders, he never explicitly said the Young Bucks. So in my mind, I'm looking at this like, okay, he was pretty much a victim of circumstances. And, you know, if the Young Bucks want to play it like, hey, this was not intended for you, I'm cool with that. I understand where they're going with this. I don't mind. I know most people are going to probably be like, why didn't they super kick Swerve? No, it's fine. I get that. And then they walk away, and you have Will Ospreay holding a towel to the corner of his head, or his eye maybe, and there's blood all over it, right? And that's the end of the segment right there. And like I said, you hear all this, and it's good. It's not bad. It's good. But there are so many things that they could have done and should have done that could have made this exponentially way better. For one, the obvious thing. Why the fuck did this open? Why did this open? This way of Tony Khan's thinking, of believing that he's an innovative promoter and thinking to himself, let me put all the best stuff in the beginning of the show to capitalize on the momentum that is going to build up for it, and knowing that people are going to turn off the television, turn the channel after seeing this match, it's ridiculous to me. Like, I don't get this thought process at all. If you were creative enough, you could put this in the main event and you can build up to it. The segments, the storyline progressing throughout the night is going to get people more invested into the main event, and it'll keep people around even longer. Capitalizing off of the Big Bang is so fucking dumb. It's dumb. It's illogical as all hell. I don't get it. Make it the main event and build up to it like any logical wrestling company would fucking do. But he didn't do that. Instead, he put it in the opener, which was already fucked. As I said before, with the in-ring action, not terrible, nowhere near the worst stuff that we've seen with AEW, but at the same time though, again, the false finishes, like the way that they stylize their matches is getting, maybe to not most people, but to me it's getting very, 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 very annoying. Something else also, you had them follow Hangman Adam Page, right? It would have been nice had this actually main evented. This could have been something where Will Ospreay and Swerve are preparing for their match, and instead you had all the stuff that was circulating around this, and you probably could have had Hangman Adam Page coming out to the ring with the Death Riders following behind him. Off camera, they beat the dog shit out of him, and they come out to the ring with blood all over their white shirts. That's something else that they could have done. To explain why Hangman didn't come out, you cut a camera shot and you see him all bloodied up backstage. That's something else that they could have done, but they didn't do that. You know, like all the stuff that they could have done that could have made the segment so much better, they instead decided to not do. Something else that they could have done, and this is just my opinion also. Again, it just shows you the amateurish when it comes to the production of the show in itself. Why would you immediately cut to something irrelevant compared to what the hell was going on in the ring? You know what I mean? They immediately cut backstage and they went to Renee Patty Cake to talk about Okada and Omega and all this other stupid shit, which I know most people care for, but at the same time though, man, like, this is your main program, bro. You should have cut to camera, right? This is just my opinion. You should have cut directly to camera view. And you should have, or not cut the camera view, cut the commercial, come back and show Will Ospreay being loaded up in an ambulance. That's what you could have done. But, you know, again, if all this main evented, that could have been, that should have been what you could have done. You know, you should have went the commercial, came back, and showed Will Ospreay going directly into the ambulance. Instead, you just go directly to something irrelevant in comparison to this. But it is what it is. Hey, they did the segment the way they wanted to do the segment. I thought it was okay. It did produce something that's a little bit, like drawing worthy as far as a cliffhanger, because you want to see where this is going to go with Will Ospreay and how, Swerve is going to react to all this, and if Hangman is going to get involved even more into all this, because we still don't know what happened to Hangman, and I doubt they're going to come back and reflect off of it later on tonight, which they should, but they won't. But we got what we got, and it is what it is. So I liked it. Could have definitely been better, though. I don't understand the backwards way of how they book. Why is Hangman Adam Page coming up next, bro? Why is this coming up next? In the order, this is how it should have went. It should be Kenny Omega, and it should be Kazuchika Okada opening up with the contract signing. Then this should be coming up next in the middle of the card. Then the main event should have been Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Again, Tony, you're not an innovative booker. You're not an innovative booker. Stop thinking that, and I know he's thinking this. He has a chip on his shoulder. Stop thinking you're an innovative fucking booker because of how you book your stupid ass match flows. It's not innovative. It's retarded as fuck. Nevertheless, though, because that is coming up next, let's talk about this whole MJF segment. So like I said, I didn't give a fuck about Mystico. MJF came out after the match with Mystico and one of the jobbers, Blake, whatever his fucking name is. MJF comes out and he essentially just buries him. He challenges him to a match for next week. But in the process of doing that, and this is, it's to the point now where it's like I'm so sick and tired of MJF with this bullshit, bruh. I'm so sick and tired. It's so fucking amateurish. That's not a fucking word. Amateurish. It's amateurish. Fuck. Stop doing this dumb shit. WWE mentioning stupid nonsense. Like, is this like your entire fucking company's identity is just referencing WWE every chance they get? And MJF is the biggest proponent of this fucking insanely annoying tactic. We get it. You want AEW to be bigger than WWE. You think AEW is the number one priority in professional wrestling. We fucking get it. If it's not Swerve Strickland trying to tell us, if it's not MJF mentioning WWE in every goddamn promo, do you guys have like fucking WWE derangement syndrome or something? What in the fuck is wrong with these people? So while MJF is cutting a promo against Mystico, afterwards he was like, we all know who you really are. I grew up watching you. In reality, you're just the botchy Sin Cara. And it's like, we get it. Bro, I can't stress this enough. We fucking get it. We 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 get it. Why is it so hard to not mention WWE? Why is it so hard? Does WWE, I think I can, bro, I swear to God, it's, as far as a derogatory way, I can't remember WWE ever mentioning AEW this many times. I could probably count on one hand, and it all comes from CM Punk. Really, it's so bottom of the fucking barrel. And they do this shit all the time. Every goddamn segment is the exact same shit. The exact same fucking shit. And what comes out of it, besides the fact that now it looks like AEW once again needs WWE to get over. That's the problem that I have with it. For those who are saying like, oh, what's really the big deal? The big deal is it makes AEW look like little bro. For the AEW fanboys to not understand this, it's fucking insane to me. Why do you need WWE to get over? It's beyond fucking me. It's beyond me. It's beyond me. They end up having their match with, what was it, Speedball Mike Bailey, the Mascara guy. Okay, now I'm fucking confused now. Him and Adam Page is now getting his ass beat by the Dick Riders. He was tied. Okay. We're going to come back. Okay, we'll be right back, folks. We'll talk about this a little bit more. We got to see. What the fuck is this? Okay, that was pretty decent. I like that. The thing is, what's the follow-up, though? The follow-up is what's important. Throughout the night, how are you going to follow up on any of this? Is it going to happen throughout the night on Collision, which is so fucking lame if that happens to be the case? I wish they would just do this shit on Dynamite and just get it over with. But nevertheless, though, you set yourself up for at least more story to be told throughout the night. Now, do I believe still that this is the right way to go as far as the booking flow? Fuck no. Now I kind of changed my mind a little tiny bit. Now I wish now here's my thing. Now I wish Hangman and the Death Riders would have opened with this. That would have been one way to kick off the show. The Death Riders following Hangman out to the ring. And eventually, this is earlier, they could have did something like earlier on in the day when Hangman and Christopher Daniels were talking to each other. Then they could have came live and they could have showed Hangman being thrown, exactly what they just did right here. And then Takeshita and Kenny could have been the mid-card stuff. And then the main event could have been Will Ospreay and Swerve. Will Ospreay and Swerve could have came out to, rather than the Ops, it could have been Will Ospreay and Swerve to come out to save Hangman or something on the lines of that. And that could have set up more stuff to build up to the main event. It just makes more things seem a hell of a lot less complicated than it has to be if they would have went in that route. But like I said, before I was rudely interrupted by AEW, just to kind of put a little bow on this, the match with MJF and the Hurt Business versus Dorado and Gailey and Knight, ended up with them winning the match. Obviously the Hurt Business, because MVP got involved and hit the Dorado guy in the head with a cane, which led to MJF beating them with Paige's old finish, Saraya, the little headlock cradle DDT, which he didn't get all of because, I don't know, maybe he didn't pick up Dorado all the way. But nevertheless, though, he ended up winning the match and taking the mask off of Dorado. I keep calling him Dorado, potato, who fucking cares? And he took the mask off of him, got a clear shot of his face. He tried to hide it as quick as possible, but I'm pretty sure some people on Twitter are going to probably take a screenshot and zoom in on that bitch, because his face was uncovered for at least a good 2 or 3 seconds. He rode out of the ring, and out came Sin Cara, Mystico, whatever, and they ended up brawling for a little bit. Well, not really brawling. He ended up sneak attacking MJF and hitting him with the Hurricane Rana arm breaker he used to do back in the days. And then the Hurt Syndicate ran them off. So that's the setup. Again, I still don't understand the premise of consistently having to mention WWE. It just makes you guys look Bush League as shit, and I wish MJF would fucking stop. I really wish he would fucking stop. But continuing on to what I was saying about the stuff with Hangman, he came out to the ring and he had tape all over his mouth, and he was, I don't know, tied or maybe handcuffed from the back. I think he was tied. And the Death Riders, they were beating the fuck out of him, got him in the ring. Jon Moxley got on the microphone. He said he had to do all this to get him to focus on himself or whatever bullshit that he was talking about, because it's Jon Moxley, so all he does is just ramble the fuck on. He just rambles and rambles and rambles and rambles without actually saying a fucking thing. But eventually, he ended up putting a chair on, because you had Hangman who tried to fight back. He ended up headbutting Jon Moxley while his hands were bound behind his back. And then the rest of the Death Riders, they ended up overwhelming him. Cesaro put a chair on Hangman's neck and chest area, and it looks like he was about to stump him on the, chair, Pillmanize him, right? And then out came the Ops, and they chased off the Death Riders, and then Hangman got on the microphone, and he was like, if you think this is what you're going to do, if this is your best, if this is what you consider your best, you're going to have another thing coming. You're going to have to do more to take me out. And if I catch any of you bastards lying around backstage, I'm going to take your heads. And he picked up the chair that they were going to use on them. And they ended up going backstage. And, he ended up going backstage. And the camera cut to this garbage-ass women's match right now that I don't give a fuck about. And I'm actually going to talk through. Like I said, it's a nice premise to set up. My thing is, it would have been so much better if you would have set this up in the beginning of the night, because now it's all starting to make sense, right? It's all starting to make sense. It could have been this is something where they're trying to pick off each, or trying to separate as much as they can while still keeping it connected. They're trying to separate the Young Bucks from the Dick Riders, and they want Swerve and Will Ospreay to focus on the Dick Riders. That's what they want to be focused on. And then you have on the opposite side where you have the Death Riders who are strictly focused on Hangman. I know what they're trying to do. I get it. It makes sense. You want each match to have its own identity so it can breathe more when the pay-per-view comes up. I understand. I get what they're trying to do. They want to do all this while at the same time still having them connected. All of which I agree with. All of which I'm completely okay with. My only thing and my only contention to all of this is, again, the booking flow of the show will make this all make sense. So now that I see what's going on here, and now that I know they're going to do the contract signing in the main event, what I would have done is the contract signing in the middle of the card. What I would have done is Hangman Adam Page getting jumped, getting taken out to the ring, and like I said, Swerve and Will Ospreay. Well, not even Swerve necessarily, but Will Ospreay coming out to the ring, and maybe he could have came out with the Ops, because again, you want to keep Swerve and Hangman separated because they don't like each other. You wouldn't expect Swerve to come out, right? So I get it. The Ops. Will Ospreay, they could have came out, they could have done something, and you could have had Swerve backstage with Prince Nene watching the television monitor and seeing all this happening and occurring, right? And then Will Ospreay could have cut a promo or something along the lines of that, right? Something like that. With Hangman still going backstage with a chair trying to look for the Dick Riders. And throughout the show, you could have him legitimately trying to find them with the chair, and eventually, you know, maybe he gets set up in a trap or whatever the case may be, and he gets taken out. And then you have them come back to Swerve Strickland and ask what's his thoughts on this. You know, Will Ospreay confronts him angrily, saying, "What the hell? Why aren't you helping?" Blah, 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 blah. And then you have the match. You know, you could have set up all this throughout the night, and instead you kind of fumbled the bag a little bit by having the opener be what it was, and it's just so stupid. It's so stupid. Because even within Tony Khan's stupid manlet brain, as far as how he's trying to conceive all this with a stupid, innovative booking strategy of putting the biggest stuff on the earlier portion of the card to capitalize on the ratings coming from the Big Bang Theory. With that logic, you could have still did Kazuchika and Kenny in the opener or in the middle of the card, because it's not as if you weren't your fanboys, the people who watch your show. That's what they want to see anyway. So that could have been in the middle of the card, and you could have opened up with all the stuff with Swerve and Will Ospreay without having to sacrifice it as far as the main attraction of the match. It's so dumb. Again, the booking behind this is all fucking stupid. It's convoluted as shit. Because again, with everything that you're doing, which is right, you're not, or at the very least, you're undercutting the prestige of how these things are coming across. Because essentially what you're saying is, if the main event is in the middle of the card and in the fucking opener, as far as all these angles attaching to themselves, and then you put this winner takes all mid-card shit in the ending, I don't give a fuck if it's Kazuchika and it's Kenny Omega. People within your fan base may care about that shit because they see Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada as main eventers from the perspective of, look at what they did with their New Japan stuff. That doesn't bother me. The stuff having to do with your world championship is what should main event. Bar none, full stop. And if they can't understand that, if they have to consistently book in this retarded manner, again, you're working backwards. Between Swerve having to constantly do the rallying cry behind AEW, between that and MJF having to mention WWE in some shape or form, again, with all the good stuff that you're doing, there's some good shit happening tonight. It's not bad. Let me say this right now. This is not a mixed bag show. I like it so far from what I'm seeing. It's just those little things, and when they start to build up, they become big things and they're noticeable. And it could take a good show and make it into a mixed show when it's completely unnecessary because you don't know how to fucking book. That's all I'm saying. But hey, it is what it is, man. I did like NJ coming out with what's her name again? I forgot her name. Fucking Tay Conti, that's her name. I did like the little fucking Stephanie Vakir, Lola Vice booty bump. Damn, they got ass. But that's not going to save this match. If it's not bra and panties, I don't give a shit about it. So with that being said, let them have their garbage ass match, and then hopefully we get some more important things throughout the night. Like, you know, maybe Hangman potentially finding some people backstage having to deal with the Dick Riders, or is that going to bleed directly into Collision to never be talked about again, and we have some random ass stupid fucking match in the main event to conclude this 4-hour blockbuster summer event? Whatever. Let's continue on with the show. Alright, so they're starting the second half of the show, and I'll give credit where credit is due, even though, again, I have so many problems with the layout. I will give credit where credit is due. They had the common sense to give you an in-depth video package to at least illustrate the rivalry between Okada and Omega that's been going on for nearly 8 years now. I will give credit where credit is due in regards to that, because that's what you need to do, right? That's how you want to prop this all up, to educate the people who aren't really too familiar with these two. Now, the problem with these two is that their drawing factor or their significance is very similar to how I feel about, say, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And before people jump in the comment section and say Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, how dare you speak blasphemy and compare them to the great Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels? Hear me out. I mean, in the sense that in regards to what they actually have to give, and I'm talking about pre-Montreal Screwjob, I'm talking pre-Hart Foundation, I'm talking pre-D-Generation X, I'm talking about their build up to their WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 12 in 96, build up to the Iron Man match. I mean that in that sense, and that they have nothing to, oh, okay, that's nice, I like that. See, I'll give credit where credit is due. They're doing a great job as far as the build up. You know what I mean? I just feel what their significance to the company as far as outside factors in regards to drawing people outside of the AEW sphere, it's not going to be predicated on what Omega and what Okada does. You know what I mean? With all due respect to those two, I don't feel that they themselves can draw out people. And I get it. It's AEW in the end of the day, and the people that they're putting into these spots, they don't really necessarily have any significant prominence that can actually gain outside people to want to watch the show. But with that being said, and again, that's the comparison to Bret and Shawn, especially in 96, but I will give credit where credit is due as far as the actual build, right? Like what they just did right here. We're now in the second part of Collision. They just left the arena right now. They had a contract signing, as you guys know. They talked. It looked like they had a bit of camaraderie as far as how they were going to, go forward with all of this. I like that. I like that a lot. You know what I mean? They kind of made it feel like, okay, this is going to be not necessarily a babyface versus babyface match because Okada's a heel, but at least there's a healthy respect where this is going to be a straight up one-on-one. This is all about the competition. This is all about our rivalry. And they even kind of played up a little bit. I mean, in vain, because I think everybody knew where this was going to go, but in vain, because they did have Okada backstage kind of, kind of going back and forth with Don Callis as far as wanting to have his input. You know what I mean? Don Callis was trying to, go out of his way to suggest why can it be Takeshita or why can it be, Fletcher in this match for the International Championship or for the Continental Championship. And Okada looked at both guys, including fucking Lance Hoyt or Lance Archer, and he kind of just brushed them to the side, right? So, again, it's at least, we knew where this was going, but at the very least, it's the significance of actually putting forth effort that I can at least appreciate. And like I said, going back to the contract signing, they did all that. They made it believe that this is going to be basically strictly the spirit of competition, only for Don Callis to come out, right, and confront Kenny Omega. Not necessarily face-to-face, but on the ramp. And he kind of preached the same thing that he preached to Okada backstage and suggested why couldn't it be Fletcher? Why couldn't it have been someone like a Takeshita to get a championship match like this? And Omega, with his back turned, was talking to Don Callis and saying, hey, if they want a title shot, they need to get in line and earn it the old-fashioned way, right? And Don Callis was essentially, tooting his own horn, saying that he always has a plan, and Kenny Omega's like, I'm always one step ahead of you, I know all your plans. And then Don Callis is like, oh, you do? Did you know this was my plan? And then Okada attacked him from behind with the championship belt, beat the dog shit out of him, fucked him up. Don Callis got in the ring, and he picked up an object. I didn't really pay attention to notice what it was, whether it was I think it was a police baton, if I'm not mistaken. But he ended up hitting Kenny Omega in the gut with it, right? And Kenny Omega was selling. You had the medical people come out. You had the security guards come out to break up everything, and they were putting Kenny, or trying to help out Kenny. And then Okada got in the turnbuckle. He ended up hitting the elbow drop onto Kenny Omega, who was selling after the baton shot to his fucked up stomach, because obviously they're trying to sell the diverticulitis. And then when he gets out the ring, Kenny Omega, while he's on the stretcher, gets hit with another elbow drop by Kazuchika Okada. And at this point, he is just squirting out blood. His mouth is just splurting out blood. And I can appreciate that. I appreciate the build. I appreciate some of the nuances that you're trying to prepare. It's almost as if you're a fucking professional wrestling company and you're trying to sell a fucking show. Good on you. I appreciate all this. And outside of the fact that, yeah, my contention in regards to the drawing factor, that has nothing to do with someone's, preferability as far as entertainment, right? One thing that you can focus on as far as, okay, the intention behind it, obviously, it's kind of a falsehood if that's what you're going to present. At the same time, in a scope, objectively, it was a nice angle. It was a solid angle, right? But then this brings me to another contention that I'm having with this match. And it's like, look, if you're going to put so much effort into all this, you're going to build it up in the video package, talk about it throughout the night. This is the first time that I can remember AEW hyping up a match throughout the night. They were showing the match graphics about it. The announcers kept touching on it in every match for the most part. They gave you a video package and they gave you a finish, right? The angle, closing out the show. All of this is great, but it's for... Look, I understand it's Okada and Omega in the end of the day, but it is still for a mid-card championship. This is not the focal point of your show. This is not going to close out your show. What's going to close out your show is Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley. And if they're going to do something on the second part of Collision, that's bad business. Everything in regards to that World Championship should be strictly to Dynamite, what you know everybody's going to watch. To put that as far as a priority position underneath Okada and Omega, if that's going to be the case, then why not just give Omega the World Championship and let this be for the World Heavyweight Championship, right? If your priorities are Omega and Okada means more to the company, then apparently, from what I can see, just based off the booking, it means more to you than what Moxley and what Hangman is doing, which is for the World Heavyweight Championship. Then just give the World Heavyweight Championship to Okada and Omega and let them work with it. Okay, you're going to do all this stuff in a stadium show. This is going to be their fourth match. All this. Okay, just fucking do it then. Do it for the World Heavyweight Championship. Go all out. The priorities of the booking in regards to the show, man, again, that's my only nitpick. And it's a heavy nitpick. I'm not even going to call it a nitpick. It's actually a concern. It's a legitimate concern. The 2 steps forward, the 2 steps forward and 10 steps back logic behind this company, as I said earlier on, it's a small mistakes that build up to be big mistakes that sooner or later will equate the one big thing that you're doing that's actually excellent. And the one big thing that they're doing that's excellent is the build to this show, at least in the scope looking at this show alone. I thought this was a pretty damn good show for the most part. I thought this was good. I thought this was a solid show. Solid effort. Everything, for the most part, conclusively gave you cliffhangers for the majority of the angles and is building up into the pay-per-view. That's what you want to see out of a professional wrestling company. But at the same time, the bad things you can't ignore, and the booking is still absolutely dog shit. The booking flow is still absolutely dog shit. That's my problem. They need to get that. They really, really, really need to get a handle on that, man. If you're creative enough, and you can give us an angle throughout the show to build up into the main event, there should be no reason to have any significant thing that's prominent within your show that's actually drawing outside of just your main audience. There should be no reasoning as to why they have to be an opener, and the thing that is less significant has to be the thing that is actually closing. It's stupid. It's illogical, and they do this a lot. Now, granted, it's not as blatant as it typically is. Like, they put the women in the main event and stupid shit like that. It's not as blatant this time. I think Okada and Omega in a scope does warrant that spot if the priorities did meet the criteria of what we're seeing throughout the show. But it doesn't. It's not the World Heavyweight Championship. It's not, nor should it be the priority right now. But you're making it the priority. And it does hurt the presentation. Again, not as egregious like you've been seeing in previous weeks, but still noticeable. But like I said, I'll take what I can get, and I like the show tonight. So let me hear your comments down in the comment section below in regards to how you felt about the show. Are there things that you would have switched up? Are there things that you would have done differently? I'd like to hear it. Come on, Let it rain down in the comment section below, but there's no way I'm watching Collision tonight. Fuck that. I got what I need to get out of the show. Let's not ruin a good thing. So with that being said, my name is Devontae, aka Millennial Smart, and I'll be catching you fine folks later. A deuces and a P. Ice.